Hello there again. Do I have one that's a little special today? Yes, I do. Today's Transformer is a Decepticon, and he is another of the triple changing robots that has two alternate modes, and he was introduced, I think it was later on in the second season. The second season was the big one that was like 65 episodes or something like that. He was later on in the back half of that second season. And he was a funny robot and very distinct for a number of reasons. And well, before we go any further, let me just show him to you. We're looking at today the Decepticon Astrotrain. You can't really see him though. If you'll remember from last week, I did the two aerial bots, Air Raid and Fireflight, and they were the Zeta Toys brand as well, but they had actual boxes in black that had pictures and stuff on them. And I mentioned at the time that the two Zeta Toys robots I'd done prior to them, Jazz and RC, came in this generic kind of regular cardboard box. So that's more what Astrotrain is. He's back to that regular series or whatever the difference is, I don't know, but he is in here. So Astrotrain, a very distinct robot, like I said, and a very funny robot too. He was a Decepticon, but he was on the front lines the odd times sometimes, but more so his two alternate modes, one of them was a train engine, and the other one was like a space shuttle. So he was tasked mostly with transporting the Decepticons around from various scheme to various scheme, usually in the space shuttle mode. So that was his main significant contribution to the Decepticons, was a transport for all the troops. And he, I don't know if he was fine with that, but he was kind of one of the more easygoing Decepticons who had more of a sense of humor and was like, whatever, that kind of guy. And the distinct things about him was his color scheme. He's like a purple and silver or gray kind of color scheme. And also his voice was really cool. It had this kind of robotic, really echoey kind of quality to it, and his alt modes were pretty different too. Because how many trains are there in Transformers, right? Like, no, not many. There's one other space shuttle, Vortex, one of the Combaticons, and Skylynx, I guess, and then just Cosmos, the UFO. So again, a spaceship is a little different, right? So he was very distinct for a number of reasons, and. In terms of his video clip that I've chosen for today, it's very short. I find that he wasn't featured in a lot of episodes. The one episode he was featured in actually appears in one of my past characters videos. I can't remember who that must have been for, but I think he was in that one a little bit. And that was when one of the few times he actually got a bit of airplay and kind of decided to go off on his own, and he reprogrammed these human train engines to kind of be his little army of trains, and had a little scheme going, which utterly fizzled out in the end. But I think that was for one of my past characters that featured into their video. So, but these video clips I have here, just a brief little couple clips that show him in his robot form. You hear his voice, and then you see him in both of his alternate modes. So it's not long, it's not detailed, but it kind of gets the point across as to what he looked like, sounded like, and what his alt modes looked like. So let's have a look at that.
Release Autobots, Megatron, never! Release him!
Go, Omega! Give it to him!
Looks like the big boy needs a little training.
Who challenges Omega Supreme?
like I said, really brief, but you get a glimpse of what he looked like, what he sounded like, and you got to see him taking on one of the Autobot Guardians, Omega Supreme, in a taking on a real big opponent there, and ultimately getting wiped out. But that's kind of the gist of Astrotrain right there. And in terms of his G1 toy, I actually have it, and I should have brought it up to compare it, but it was actually like, he was kind of later on in that second season, right? So he was a later robot. Not long before the movie, I guess it would have been. I really liked his G1 toy. The space shuttle mode looked good. The train mode I thought looked pretty good, and so did his robot mode. And you know, triple changers, of course, were a little more complex to probably design and build and figure it out. Okay, we don't just have to have this thing transform back and forth to robot and alt mode. We got another alt mode in there to work into the mix. So I thought they did a really good job of planning out his G1 toy and making it look really good. And that being said, let's have a look at it right now. So not too shabby, right? At least that's my opinion anyways. So, but anyways, this is the new and improved masterpiece scaled Astrotrain, and I can't wait to get him out of here and see what he looks like. And this is the metallic edition, so I'm not sure what the hell that means, if he's shiny or something, but let's get him out of the box and we'll find out. So here we go with Spacetron Astrotrain. And what I'm hoping today is that it comes with instructions, unlike Springer last time, right? So we didn't get to see his alt modes. Hey, it does. What do you know? And like I said with Zeta Toys, like when I did the aerial bots last week, like I find that their transformations are just that little bit easier than the Masterpiece and the X-Trans bots and stuff, right? So I hope him being a triple changer, that's going to be the case, because then that'll make things a lot easier doing two transformations, right? So as usual, his card, his instructions, garbage, and he's in a little styrofoam thing here, so he carries a big blaster. I love it. Oh, he carries two big blasters. Looks like he's got an alternate head here, as well as a couple little purple things. I'm not sure what they all about, but we'll find out, I'm sure. So here he is. Look at that baby. Not too shabby, eh? Yeah, metallic edition. I guess, yeah, he does have a bit of, I don't know, like small amount of flex or whatever in the paint job or whatever, but seems a little heavy in the back, but I think that looks like it's everything. Yep, that's all. So there's Astrotrain right there. We will try and get him transformed into both modes, alternate modes, and see what those look like, and then we'll wrap this thing up. Here we go. As you can see, this figure is pretty awesome. Unfortunately, I couldn't get him into his alternate modes. I could have kept on going, but it was getting to the point, it had a rough start with the arms, and then I got going. I was like, oh, okay, yep. And then I ran into some trouble at the back and getting things around, and I was just thinking, there's lots of little parts on this, and it looks like it's a pretty detailed transformation in terms of moves and stuff like that, and I was like, you know what? Considering I have to do two alternate modes and I'm running into this type of trouble early on, I hate forcing things. I'd rather an unbroken functional Astrotrain I can only see in robot mode than to risk getting him into the other modes just for a couple pictures here and there and then putting him back into robot mode, right? So I just kind of gave up on it, but but you could tell that it was going to be pretty awesome if I did get him into the other modes. There's lots of little details. Like I really like the thrusters on the back here. I'm assuming they might pull out a bit once he does get into shuttle mode or whatever. The train wheels, it's got these bars here, so they go around. So I'm sure, you know, when he rolls, it looks like it's an actual old locomotive chugging along sort of thing, right? So, and like I said, his color scheme, the gray and the purple looks amazing. And then with those two big blasters in his hands, right? Like this is a pretty detailed figure, and he's a really good size too, because you know, there's the whole size thing with Transformers, right? How does a regular size robot transform into a space shuttle that can then fit all the other Decepticons, right? There's the whole space time, not space time, but size warping thing, and transwarp or whatever the hell they call it, that goes on with Transformers. That's a bit funny sometimes, right? But he's a pretty good sized character, so he does have a lot of size, like he should, for the type of vehicles that he transforms into. So overall, kind of disappointed that I couldn't get the transformations done, but other than that, totally impressed with this figure. He looks amazing, and it's going to be another worthy addition to the Transformers shelf. So until next week, we're starting to get into the guys that of the ones I still have. I have a few more coming, but of the ones I have left that I haven't done yet, we're starting to move into territory of guys that we're getting into. I'm saving my best for last, or at least my favorite characters for last. So we're starting to get into the start of a lot of my really favorite characters that I have left from Transformers with these last bit of bots. So I'm really excited for next week's, and hopefully we can get him transformed into his alternate mode. But we will just have to find out, wait and see until next week. So hope you enjoyed this one for for what it was, even though we couldn't get him transformed. But here's Astrotrain. Toodaloo.